You're listening to the T21 Podcast, brought to you by Down Syndrome Group of the Ozarks. Our mission is to bring life and wellness to families who are advocating towards a community of inclusion for individuals with Down syndrome.
Welcome back to the T21 Podcast. I'm Ben Ward sitting alongside Chloe Jones. How are you today, Chloe?
I'm so good. Hello. Good morning.
Yeah, good to see that you're still with us.
Yes, I'm still here, surprisingly.
Yes. For those of you that are just listening and not watching it on YouTube, Chloe is...
Pregnant.
Yeah, 8.5
Yeah,
months pregnant. So we're expecting a baby pretty soon.
Yes.
So DSGO is excited to welcome another person on board. So. So today we have a really important conversation. Every episode is an important conversation, absolutely. And a lot of our episodes are geared around trying to teach or help parents who have individuals with Down syndrome, give them resources and things like that. All the way from birth through adulthood. And so today we're kind of shifting gears just a little bit, and we're kind of taking the conversation to those who may not have a family member or a child or know somebody with Down syndrome or really any disability that it comes to, and how they can help teach, help train their children to still be kind and respectful when they see somebody who may look or sound different than them. So I'm excited about this conversation. And I wanted to start it off by kind of just, I've been with Down Syndrome Group of the Ozarks, a nonprofit organization here in Springfield, Missouri, for about 3 years. So my involvement in the Down syndrome community is still in the infant stages, but you have been heavily involved in the Down syndrome community for quite a while, as well as others with disabilities. So I just wanted the listeners to be able to get a little insight into kind of your experience and history in that.
Yeah. Well, I actually, growing up, did not know anyone with disabilities. I didn't have anyone with disabilities in my family. I didn't have anyone in my classroom growing up. Even, when I went to school, wasn't that long ago, but my school was not, we just did not ever see the special ed class. Yeah. Same thing with elementary, middle school, high school, even in middle school, they were in a separate building even. So, and then high school, yeah, same thing.
And real quick, I don't want to age you, but that wasn't too long ago.
No, I graduated high school in 2017.
Yeah.
So I think that just shows we have way more to go in terms of inclusivity in the school system.
So good.
In elementary school, I think I had one boy in one of my classes that had autism, and he came in for maybe an hour and sat by himself with a para at a different table even. So I had no experience or just seeing that in my life at all. But I think, and Whitney from Brew 21 and I were talking about this recently, I think that some people, I'm talking about myself here, just have that natural want to get to know those people that are different from them. And so when I was 13 though, I started volunteering at church. And I wanted to be in the Jordan's room is what it was called. Okay. And it was the room for children with disabilities. And I don't know why, they were like, where do you want to volunteer? And I'm like, that is where I want to be. And I want to know those kids. And I thought they were the coolest people to hang out with. So, and they all had differing abilities and differing diagnoses and stuff like that. So that's where my heart really started. And then, not really knowing anyone other than that class. And then in high school, I volunteered through A+, through our program, through the special ed class at high school. So I volunteered with them. I met a lot of our friends with Down syndrome in there, and they're just so fun to be around. Yeah, so absolutely. Again, I think that naturally I just have a heart for that, even though I don't have a sibling or anyone that's related to me or anything with disabilities of any kind. Something I've noticed with a lot of our volunteers is they're like that too. That have that heart. So,
and we generally try to bring on, I'm using air quotes here for those of you not watching, experts in a field, right? Yeah. And so we don't have one on today, but that's because we felt like with your experience and my short experience even, we have a pretty solid background. And I've got 5 kids, and we'll get into that and how I've kind of taught them certain things when we're come to events or volunteer or things like that. But you have been managing the store that DSGO, Down Syndrome Group of the Ozarks, does, Upside Down Mercantile, since it began. And so you see several people come into the shop on a daily basis. And for those of you that don't know, we have several individuals with Down syndrome that volunteer at the store, work at the store, at the shop. And so
it's a little rowdy sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, it's always a party. Always a party. So make sure you come on down if you're in the area. But you see how people come into the store with children even, or adults that aren't sure maybe how they should interact or what they can and can't say and things like that. And so I'd like to get maybe a story or two from you just to kick it off. And maybe it's a good story, maybe it's a bad story. Either way, I think we need to hear both. But just give us kind of an example so that people kind of get an idea of what we're kind of leading into for the rest of this episode.
I'm not saying that any of these things are wrong, but I will say there's been there's just several different ways people come into the shop. Yeah. There's some people I've heard when they walk in and they'll say, actually, it was a grown man telling his elderly mother this. There's people in here that might want to hug you and they they're disabled. Something along those lines, but definitely he said they might want to hug you, and I thought that was great. But she was so confused. She kind of looked for a second, and then Sarah, who we had on the podcast for January, was like, "Welcome in," and "Oh, I love your shirt." And the mom she did not look very happy about it. Yeah. Honestly, sometimes when you're going into a store to go shopping, you're not expecting to be greeted like that.
Absolutely.
And then other people are matching the energy. Yeah. But so that's an example of just one of someone preparing someone to walk in, I've heard.
Yeah, that's good.
One of my family members came in and his children had actually never met someone with disabilities. So before they came in, he explained what Down syndrome was and then showed pictures of some of our volunteers to kind of prepare them. Yeah. Because it is different. And a lot of our friends are huggers. And they hold on a little too long and a little too tight.
Yeah, they can. So, I want to hit 2 things real quick. One, I want to make sure that it's clear that we are not saying you have to match the energy.
No.
It is okay to still be you know what, I would like no hugs or something like that. But just be kind and friendly about it. I mean, there's no reason to be rude or hateful, just like with anybody that you interact. Yes. So that's one thing. And then 2 things. I love the planning ahead. I mean, any parent's going to tell you, no matter what situation they're getting into. I mean, we could be going to church, we could be going to a ball game, we could be going to a neighbor's house, we could be coming to Upside Down Mercantile. We are letting our kids know, which hopefully at certain ages they know, but hey, this is how we're going to act. Yes. We really, in our family, it's really a character trait. You're a Ward. That's your last name. This is what we stand for. This is how we live. So this is how you're going to live out in the world as well. And so, anyway, those are any other examples or thoughts that came to your head at the very top there?
Well, the other thing I can think of is just people not knowing just how beautiful our friends are that have disabilities and their personalities and their glow. You can tell the people that don't know. And maybe they're looking for something specific, but they come into the shop. And when you come into our shop, there's these amazing portraits lining the walls of our friends with Down syndrome. And they look around and they turn around and walk out. And for me, I cannot even fathom that. Even if I'm in a hurry, even if I'm looking for a specific piece of furniture or a product, I would want to know what that's about. So I think that is another thing of people just not knowing and also maybe hearing one of our friends speaking and looks at them, turns around and walks away. Yeah. So those are some just examples.
Yeah, it's important for everyone to understand. And it's such a simple concept, but as humans, we forget it all too often is you can hurt people's feelings just by actions. You should want to be treated how you should treat others how you want to be treated. And so doing things like that, especially if it's in a rude way, is just, I mean, flat out unacceptable. And thankfully we don't see that often, you know, and I feel like the inclusiveness, not only in this area, but also, you know, around the country, around the world is growing day by day. And that's really great to see. So,
and it gives a moment for education. A man came in the other day actually and said, "Is this the store where people work that something's wrong with them?" Said that to me. And I said, "I'm not sure what you mean by that." And he was like, "Yeah, like they, something's wrong." And he just kept going. And I was like, "I don't think this is that store, actually." And then I said, "Are you talking about like people that maybe have disabilities?" He was like, yes. I'm like, "Okay, yeah. So people with Down syndrome do work here. Yeah. Like everything you're seeing is developed by them, which is really awesome."
And just knowing
room for education.
Yeah, for sure. And just knowing you and knowing how you probably handled that conversation in a very kind but assertive
just how I said
way.
it.
Yeah. And so
was laughing.
but it's important. What I'm saying is it's important for people to know that you're going to say things wrong occasionally.
Exactly.
Especially if you're not around a community that is heavily involved with people with disabilities. You know, you're going to say, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's an education. And so I'm sure the next time that guy comes in the store or is around other people and telling them that conversation is going to go a little different. And so
and that's
definitely
people
important.
First language that I wanted to talk about today too. Even our families, and again, it's not wrong. I have parents that say my Downs boy. That is not how people really talk about them anymore. Yeah. We say our child with Down syndrome, but that is their child. Yeah. That is how they speak about them. Like that, it's not wrong. Yeah. But there's room for education for people that don't know, you know?
Absolutely. So education's one piece. What are some other practical steps that you could tell some people who, again, may not be familiar or be around people with disabilities very often? What are some practical steps or ideas that you could give them or thoughts on tips? Maybe that's the word. Some tips that you could give them when they're entering that
for
atmosphere.
Sure. Obviously the biggest one, like I said, is people first language. Something I've heard a lot is people that use wheelchairs. Okay. You can say they use wheelchairs to move around. Or maybe they don't walk, but they use their wheelchair to move here. Yeah. That is how you would describe it. Not my wheelchair-bound friend. You know, it's different. You're separating the diagnosis from the person. Yeah. So like the Downs boy, that would not be correct because you're describing them as the diagnosis. Gotcha. The biggest one I see, though, that is so interesting to see at the shop, too, is a lot of people talk to our friends with disabilities like they're babies. Yes. Oh, my goodness. Yes. And that
drives you through a wall.
Yeah.
It does.
Yes. I don't necessarily get mad because I'm so thankful that they're speaking to them in general. Yeah. A lot of our customers just don't talk to them. So it's really nice to hear when they're having a conversation, asking what their interests are, asking what do they sell. I love that. But they are adults. At least all of our friends that work here at the shop are adults. Yep. So I think that it's so important that you speak to them like they're adults. And maybe they might not understand something you say. That doesn't mean you say it like a baby. Yeah. You just maybe rephrase it or give them an example. Yeah. So that's the two biggest tips. Separating the diagnosis from the person and not speaking to them like a baby. Unless they're a baby. Then
there you go. There you go. Do the goo-goos and gagas. Yeah. So those, can apply to anybody, right? Yes. So let's speak specifically to, and I'm going to be able to, kind of give some personal experience here, but to parents who have children. You say you see parents come in with their kids and they can look confused occasionally. They can look kind of a little thrown off, like what's going on. They're recognizing that this individual is different than me. Now, in our family, we try to teach everybody's different. Like the neighbor next door is different than you, and that's a good thing, right? So we always want to get to know somebody. We always want to learn more about somebody. And for our kids, it's always if you're comfortable. So one of the biggest things that I can say, like, our youngest, she's 5 years old right now. And I remember I brought her into the store. Her whole family came. It's a family event when we come into the store because everybody wants something. And so it was her first time. and she had seen an individual that looked different than her, looked different than her siblings and things like that. And so she's, whispering to me and things like that. And I simply just told her, hey, why don't you go introduce yourself? Introduce yourself. And if it's something you want to learn about or something, ask a question. Just make sure it's respectful, make sure it's kind and things like that. And so as a parent, I think you want to do that not just with individuals with disability, but with anybody. I think we have a young man in our church who had to have his leg amputated. And so he has a prosthetic leg now. And I remember, again, one of my older boys was like, Dad, what happened to him? And I'm like, I don't know. Why don't you go introduce yourself? And you can ask kindly. It's not rude to ask kindly. And then if they don't want to tell you and they don't want to have that conversation, then you just say, okay, and you move along. But you've met somebody that and you've introduced yourself. And so for us, it's you've got to learn more. And it's not one conversation. It's these life experiences where we're introducing them to some pretty incredible people.
Yeah.
But so again, going, everybody, we're people are different, but we embrace the difference. Is there any conversation pieces with kids that you can think of with people who have young kids that can begin that conversation? Or is it still just that pre-planning ahead of time and letting them know what situation they're getting into? I'm putting you on the spot here, so.
Well, I have books next to me because I think that's the best way to prepare and then also start the conversation at any time. Like, there's obviously age appropriate. Like, you can have a conversation. You don't have to overcomplicate what is Down syndrome and then go into the chromosomal abnormality. You don't have to do that if they're 3. You don't. You can
You'll lose their attention in 2 seconds.
Exactly. But there's so many books that have, like, for instance, this one's called I Can You? And it's literally just, if you can't see it, it's so cute, pictures of tons of babies with Down syndrome. Like, my daughter loves these books, and it just shows from the beginning, age appropriate, again, people that have differences from you. Yeah. So I think, I know you said conversation starters, but I honestly think going somewhere, like coming to Upside Down, having them meet our friends, volunteering.
And this isn't an advertisement for Upside Down. I mean, you're going to find some pretty incredible people there, but there's several people, or at least in this area. And if you're not in the Springfield, Missouri area, Google it, and I'm sure you're going to find something. But like the Hive is a place out in Willard that has individuals with disabilities that I think it's like a cafe or a coffee shop or something like that they help serve. And so there's other businesses that you can find if you're wanting to go hang out and get to know some pretty cool people.
I think that is the most important. Life experiences. Okay. Because you could tell them all of the things. Yeah. But then they might know everything about Down syndrome, and they meet them, and they're like,
Yeah, no, for sure.
Because they're a child, Yeah. So I think that, volunteering, finding a local nonprofit. So, like, March 21st, World Down Syndrome Day we just had it, and I went to 2 schools and did a presentation on Down syndrome and talked about Upside Down Mercantile at one of the schools, and the kids had so many amazing questions. But what was most important is I brought Sarah. So Sarah, who has Down syndrome. Awesome. So she got to go and meet them, answer questions. Yeah. We did misconceptions. So we did a video on this too on our social media that I'll link in the description. But one of them was people with Down syndrome can't go to college. And she was like, that's weird. Or people with Down syndrome can't have a boyfriend or a girlfriend. And she was like, I have a boyfriend. Yeah. So I think that meeting the people and meeting people that are different than you, that is the most important part
and putting it in front of people's eyes. You mentioned books. Again, when I was became a part of DSGO and things, there was a movie that I had recently seen that came to mind. And I'm not saying, hey, go show your kids this movie. Parts of it probably weren't appropriate for kids of certain ages, but it was called Peanut Butter Falcon.
I was about to say, it's that one.
And I watched it with my 11-year-old. and maybe I'm a bad parent for doing that. I can't remember the full movie, but it was an incredible movie, and he had so many questions that I was able to answer for him. And then if I didn't know the answer, I was like, you know what, let's go. The next time we're at the shop, let's talk to a few people that are working there that we know and we've created relationships with. There was another one, and I wish I could, maybe I had it written down. I can't remember if I did or not. The one that introduced me, and I can't believe I just forgot this. I'm similar to you, you know, I'm a little older, but even at that time, our special ed classes were not really part of the school. But I remember, and so my first experience with it that really got me kind of asking questions was actually the show Glee. I don't know if you've ever seen that show. Yeah. It was on in like the early 2010s, I believe, but they had a person with Down syndrome on the show. And I remember after seeing that, you started seeing individuals with Down syndrome in more places, on more shows and in more movies and things like that. So it's really been cool seeing the progression of inclusivity of people with Down syndrome or other disabilities. Yeah. But so putting shows, movies, Google it, guys. You're gonna find something in so many things.
Or you can look up our social media accounts.
Yes.
And we post the funniest videos.
Yes, absolutely.
Of our friends.
Absolutely. And we mentioned the Hive, Brew 21. Yes. They travel around. You can have Rhett, and a few people working there. I wanted to hit real quick. I know we're running out of time. How do you address someone who might be misinformed and they're just not getting it? They just aren't willing to make a correction. There's some people out like that, unfortunately. Yeah. How do you recommend people addressing that?
Honestly, I don't have the best advice because I get grouchy about it. But we've had comments on our social media, on TikTok specifically, because we post lots of silly TikToks of people commenting just yucky things. Yeah. Actually, this just brought something to my attention. DSGO just posted this on our Instagram and Facebook, but we recently partnered with Natalie, which is a local mom who has a son, Rhett, who you mentioned, and they did a T-shirt this year for World Down Syndrome Day, and on it says "Only an Honor." And the biggest thing I see is that people, even if they do know a lot about Down syndrome, they're like, we know that they can do all of this, but we don't care, and we don't want to help them, and we don't want to know them, and they're a burden to society. What she said was, it is only an honor to love them, to know them, to live life with them. It's only an honor to care for them. And I think that you just have to combat it with kindness.
Yeah. That's good. And back to the education as well. If they're willing to listen, maybe just try to educate them a little bit.
And them hearing that too, okay, you do think that? I think it's an honor to know them.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all you can do, honestly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I know you and I could sit here and probably talk for a few more hours about this.
How are we going to fill this time?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, there's so many more steps and tips that are available. And I highly encourage anybody listening to do some research and figure that out. And if you have, if you're a parent with some young kids or family members, you mentioned an older lady with family members that just don't know, just, work on education. And that's what it's all about. Yeah. Thank you. Yes. I appreciate your insight into this. Appreciate you sitting alongside me today. For those of you listening, as always, we're on YouTube right now. So hopefully you're following. And if you're not, go ahead and follow. Share this around and let's kind of spread this education piece out a little bit. And we can't wait to be back here next month. Well, I can't wait to be back here next month. You may not be here, but we're still going to have an incredible show lined up, even if you're not here. So anyway, look forward to that, and we'll talk to you all next time.
See ya. If you would like to learn more about Upside Down Mercantile, you can go to shopupsidedown.com or visit us on Commercial Street in Springfield, Missouri. If you have a topic you'd like to know more about, you can email them to info@dsgo.life.